you turn yours down?
Wait, sorry. Yeah, no, last time, yeah, so you're like perfect.
Okay, great.
I think I should be perfect. Yeah, last time I had bleed.
Now I just need to get a woman to say that about me.
That's going in the podcast right now. All right. So we're recording?
Yeah.
All right. Give me 1 sec.
Are you still on your phone?
Yeah, give me 1 sec. I'm so sorry.
I gotta turn
I'm
my
one of the
sound
worst
off.
people to.
You can just end that right there. No need to continue that sentence, Dan.
I don't know if you've ever been to my show, Brian, but I invite people over and then I ignore them.
I'm gonna be on my phone the whole fucking night, Brian. I'm so sorry. If you had any other idea about this, it's not gonna happen, man. I also love to gouge our guests and like make them feel really awkward.
You look
Especially
like somebody. Or sorry, you look like one of the nasty boys.
I know. I love the way this hair came out, man. I love it. Like this. I wasn't even going for a mohawk.
Everybody will see that in the picture we will just send. If Dan will fucking get off his phone
Sorry.
and let's start the podcast.
He's got fans that he's gotta like
I'm
attend
using
to.
all this in the podcast right now. Just
Sorry.
So what'd you do last night, Brian? Well, I got drunk. Didn't you say something about a podcast? Yeah. Didn't I?
I'm so sorry.
no, you're not, because you're still doing it.
So how many times have you seen Infinity War?
Oh,
He's
God,
seen it many
30
times.
something, maybe.
Infinity War and Endgame?
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So this is also going to be.
How did you feel about Spider-Man and Sony and Disney falling
I'm
apart?
upset about that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Sony's still gonna. I think they're still contractually like obligated. So Tom Holland's still gonna play Spider-Man.
Yes.
But in the Sony universe, which I love to see that Sony and like Tom Hardy is Venom with our Spider-Man, but I still just like it's when I look at it, like how they ended.
Endgame?
No, Spider-Man 1.
Far From Home.
Yeah, how they ended Far From Home. Like they're always prepared for the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Like even though like the projects are really good as they go one at a time, but they're always looking like so far ahead, and it's just like never losing them. Because if they're gonna make another Avengers movie, Spider-Man's in it,
Yeah.
right? But now they can't.
I was really looking forward to a Fantastic Four Spider-Man sort of like crossover.
Well, that's the thing. All these crossovers, like it's just like they did this thing where they just made the comics into movies. There's crossovers. There's like you have your big specials. You have your.
All right. I am so very fucking sorry. I just had to
Stop interrupting, Dan.
Yeah, stop making it about you, bud.
Yeah, he
We
hasn't even-
moved on.
Okay,
right.
okay. He hasn't finished Endgame.
Really?
He hasn't seen Thor Ragnarok.
No, I was in.
What?
Oh, I saw the first Thor, and I saw the first. I think 2
2 hours?
He, like I'll say
Avengers
it-
films.
Yeah.
I was watching the latest Avengers, and I got caught up in something else. We had to do some other stuff that day, myself and Emily. And no, we got about 30% done because it's a long as fuck movie.
No, it's like 3 acts.
I know
like
this is
3
the word.
hours
It's the
long,
longest
because-
movie I think I've ever tried to get through, and I've been through some long ass
Really?
films, man.
No, because I've been through some long ass.
Oh, Lord of the Rings. I saw Titanic.
I had to
Um,
watch Titanic like forwards and then in reverse. So I used to watch it for 4 hours.
The person really only time I've ever seen
I
it.
made up a lie. I just want your attention.
If you watch, what is it? If you watch
I haven't
Titanic,
seen Titanic.
if you watch Titanic in reverse, it's about a ship that hates being alone on the sea, on the sea level, and he comes back up to meet new friends in London or wherever the hell it fucking comes from first.
Ireland. I think it left
Is it Ireland? Okay.
Yeah.
I hate screwing up.
I hate when history's
I
wrong.
hate when history. Fuck. What, the levels?
Yeah. Keep talking.
Okay. I also, again, Brian, thank you for being on the Ion podcast. We ran into each other, a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for the bus. So I had to go get my haircut. I was like, huh, that looks like Brian Macquarrie. And you were coming, and we were awkwardly looking back and forth. It's like, I know that's him. I think he knows it's me. And then we kind of talked. It's like, yeah, I like him doing this kind of thing. And then again, I think this is our first kind of interaction face to face
Yeah.
ever, I think.
Yeah.
Since we've been talking online. And yeah, no, like I've been wanting to get a hold of you, man. So I'm actually happy that
So wait,
you're.
you guys never actually met in person?
No, this is our
No.
first time.
Well, second. It's our second time hanging out.
Besides,
First
like, when
time
he
on the
ran
bus.
into you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Technically second time, yeah, because we were on the bus for a little bit too. So, yeah, we also were PlayStation 4 buddies.
Well, you should tell people who he is.
Oh well, there we go. Okay, so for those who don't know, I'm being very rude again. Brian Macquarrie is an actor. He's not from here originally. You're from Red Deer.
I was born in Red Deer, Alberta. My mom didn't like work, so she moved to New Brunswick.
Okay.
And
What did she do?
she was a roving gypsy.
Okay.
For the longest time, just trying to find herself and raise two kids.
So you have a brother or sister?
I have a sister.
Okay.
Who's 5 years younger than me, and
Can I ask your age?
no, no.
Damn it.
You'll have to figure it out with IMDb.
That's actually true.
So my mom moved us to New Brunswick, and we stayed there for a couple years, and then we moved to North Bay, Ontario, and stayed there for a couple years. And,
Right.
She wanted to re-educate herself and applied to St. FX in Antigonish, and we moved to Nova Scotia. And I fell in love with the place. I love Nova Scotia. I love Halifax. Antigonish is a really nice small town.
Yep.
Like I could always see myself retiring there.
Oh, the niche is an amazing spot.
Yeah, and I was very fortunate to get the education that I did as a kid, growing up and attending the Strait Regional School Board's Dr. John Hugh Gillis Regional High. It was great. The teachers were great and very supportive. So, yeah, I'm not originally from here, but I do call Halifax my home.
Yes. No, I couldn't have picked a better spot. I'm from here originally. I'm from Cole Harbour, and John's originally from here as well.
Yeah,
But
I'm actually from the north end of Halifax.
Yeah.
And like I said, my whole life I've been here. So I know like most of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick like the back of my hand. But I always think like, Nova Scotia, the Maritimes really are like, to me, it's Canada's like, tropics, it's like.
Absolutely.
I can see that.
Like obviously we get winters and it sucks and shit, but like in the summers, the beaches,
Yep.
the water, like
Mhm.
the lifestyle here is very, very like ocean oriented, and we fucking drink like fishes.
Oh,
For
fuck,
sure.
Do we ever? Trailer Park Boys is more of a documentary than it is a fucking fictional piece of work.
Well, we're not all inept or
yeah, or steal cars and blow shit up. And,
yeah.
But
But in the summers here are great. In the springs and the falls and all that stuff. It's just we get like actually the last couple winters haven't been that bad. Besides a couple days, but it just gets cold.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I hear like over in BC and Vancouver and all that stuff, like they don't really get snow. It just rains more there and all that stuff, and they're like I guess a warmer climate.
sure.
But I still think here is the place to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it artistically. I love it professionally. I like it as a comedian. I think our audiences are so smart and savvy, especially with the university crowd that we have.
Mhm.
So that's always nice and appealing as a comedian.
Yeah, university crowd. You get a lot of the fan base from out of the universities here in town. Do you not?
Not anymore. But in my Picnicface days, yeah, we used to get a huge university crowd, and what's nice is that because it was Halifax and because everything is so small and is very community oriented, a lot of those people contact me now and they'll be like, "Yeah, I was watching Mr. D and saw you on it, and I had to tell you you were a great actor. And I'm like, well, I'm still acting. I'm not bad anymore. So, but like, you know, people liked what we did, and they'd tell and share with their friends, and that's what led to part of the success of the TV show, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing. I was telling you.
give you just
What, John?
what do you call it?
We
An
don't
interruption.
talk about TV.
It's an interruption for sure. But just to let you know, I am not familiar with your work.
Yeah, that's totally cool.
And it was not.
I had to
like,
tell
you
him
know,
to look you up.
I heard of Picnicface, but I never watched it. I never seen it. And then when I was trying to, find it online, it's like hard. Do you know what it's or like where you can find it?
No, you can't find it anywhere anymore. It's not even on Crave TV.
That's what I heard that on the internet too. But it's
Yeah.
Just
Oh, really? I thought that was it too. Maybe not.
but yeah. So just to tell you that though, yeah, I'm just not familiar. But
For sure.
I did check out some of the YouTube clips that I did
Yeah.
could find of Picnicface. They were funny.
That's
Like, it was
great.
clever. Like
That's actually how I discovered it, Brian, because I remember seeing a friend of mine told me about this new Picnicface group that I was on. They're doing stuff on YouTube, and that's how I found out a bunch of your clips on there. And I think it's some of the funniest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. The show, which is on Comedy Network.
kind of like. Well, sorry again to interrupt.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like what I've been. I had an idea with this where we're starting here.
Yeah.
But with me and him, like in our shared sense of humor, I'm like, we could write skits together, and that's what I want to do once I get.
They're called sketches, not skits.
skits.
Okay.
Sketches.
Skits.
We're
are-
learning.
Skits are what
Jeez.
little girls do for their
Scenes.
parents on Christmas
And
morning.
pageants. See,
No,
we're
that's- no,
learning
yeah,
from
we're
the
gonna do
experts.
that.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna do skits.
We're gonna do skits.
I
What-
stand
We're gonna
firm.
dress
I want to
up
do
in
Christmas
the-
shows.
What initially what led to you transitioning from YouTube to television, getting your show on Comedy Network?
What a fascinating question you've asked me.
There'll be more to come.
So we put on Power Thirst. That blows up. We
That's a hilarious sketch. I'll just show you about it.
So what happened is we were doing a ginger show,
Mhm.
and we had to create content for our live audience. And Andrew Bush was very focused on doing internet stuff, and some of us were just like, "Whatever, the internet, you don't know what you're talking about." And we hit a sort of a speed bump where ideologically, I'm drunk and burping into the microphone.
Dude, okay. I gave
This is gonna be the best
caveat
content
to
ever.
Everybody at the beginning, like the first episode, I was like, "We burp."
we burp.
Yeah,
We burp.
please.
I am proud of good
No,
burps.
this is a very, very, very unprofessional way we're doing it. But you know what? God damn it, we want to make everybody.
Fuck if nobody else burps.
Yeah,
into the
I'll
fucking
do it.
microphones.
Do it into the
I don't
mic.
give a
It
fuck.
just be
I
goddamn.
almost vomited.
This is
into
our
the mic.
show. We
Just-
do what we want.
What?
This is our show. We do what we want.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is your show. And that was the weird thing, that we were given a TV show and we were allowed to do pretty much whatever we wanted.
That's like,
And that's unheard of.
yeah.
We had Mark McKinney going to bat for us, and it was like just being like on the phone with those phone calls. Like, I'm like, my name is Brian Macquarrie. What the hell am I doing on a phone with Mark McKinney? But to backtrack to your question, we did Power Thirst. We put it up. We did it live in front of the Ginger's audience, and we
Right.
got it well received. So we're like, we're just gonna throw it on the internet. Threw it on the internet, and it blew up.
Mhm.
And Will Ferrell endorsed it and changed my
Really?
life.
Ha
Yeah.
Will
And
Ferrell, man. Like,
That's
he's
when you
the-
know you've hit the big mark, man.
it was weird because
Yeah.
these people who sort of like knew me as the guy who was trying to be a comedian in my acting classes at Dalhousie, they switched and became like, couldn't have happened to a better guy. And I was just
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like, that's really nice of you to say, but you don't know me. Like, maybe I'm underhanded. No, and it was really nice that it happened. We didn't get in contact with Comedy Central or Breakthrough Media. Breakthrough Media got in contact with us at some point, and they were interested in pitching a series for us, and everything sort of fell into place around the time we went to Regina and did the Comedy Awards there. We were able to perform live for a lot of the network heads, and they were able to see how we were different than other sketch troupes in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
which was interesting. Like, you had a bunch of these like young, very savvy, hip comedians coming out of Toronto, but there was almost like a cookie cutter syndrome where they were all like competing against each other. And then came Picnicface, this group out of nowhere, out of Halifax, that just had their own sensibility. We weren't like Toronto. We weren't like Vancouver. We were this unique little bubble that like Americans liked and like British people liked. And like,
Oh, I can definitely see British people liking that.
yeah. And so Australia liked us too. And so it was very interesting. It was very humbling.
Yep.
And then working on the show, like, you know, when you have a guy like Mark McKinney who says these guys need 12 episodes to really hammer home their voice.
Yep.
And that helped us. It helped us a lot to get
That's actually
12
incredible.
episodes.
Yeah, no, that would be the kick in the ass. That would be, you know, get you in the high gear, right? So in 12 episodes, that's for him to say that. That is probably one of the best things that could ever happen to you for that.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, they wanted to give us 6 episodes for a season, and he was like, no, they need more than that. And you know, we didn't have the biggest budget. We had like, I think it was $2.5 million for the 12 episodes. And yeah, we had we had Mark Montefiore as a line producer, and he was a hard, diligent worker, and like he found success outside of Picnicface, which was great. And has been doing so well ever since working with Picnicface. And
What does a line producer do?
they sort of keep you in check with money wise and dollar wise.
Okay.
So that was and like some of us butted heads with him, but like I got along with him, and like I was totally fine with it. So I'm not sure all of his practices were like to the benefit of the show, but we got the show that we wanted in the end. So, you know, I really have to like hand it to him and like Ira Levy and Sarah Fowley. Like, these were people that really believed in us and like really let us take the risk to do what we wanted. I mean, on the ride over, we were talking about like being handcuffed and like artistically handcuffed, not really literally handcuffed.
Figuratively or
Figuratively.
Emily was there.
I speak in metaphor sometimes.
You're bringing me in this conversation, right?
On the break.
And we weren't handcuffed at all with the Comedy Network, except for like we had a Jesus sketch, and we were sort of like asked, don't do a lot of these. And I was like, why not? and their response was, I'm gonna get a lot of emails for it. I don't want to answer these emails. So like that was their reason for not wanting us to do Jesus sketches, and like that makes sense in my head. Like, you have a bunch
more
of like,
work for somebody.
Yeah. Was he
like,
one of the higher ups at the network?
It was the very high up.
Oh, the very the King Cheese there. Okay.
King Cheese told us
Don't do it. So, but he was okay with a couple? Like, would you get away with one or two, essentially?
Yeah, we got
okay.
away with one or two, so
Okay.
it wasn't that bad. The only Jesus sketch that we really had was Bill Wood's sketch, I Walk with Jesus. It's a poem.
I remember that one, Slayers.
Yeah, and it's very smart, and it's poetic, and it's funny, and it's like, it's unconventional humor, and like that's why I really appreciate Bill Wood. And it's sort of interesting, like, because I wasn't in his shoes, but to get one of those, this is a good sketch, don't write any more like it, like, notes. It's interesting, like, you walk differently in your shoes that day, right? And like, good on Bill Wood. Like, he's a very smart and like savvy comedian at times.
Maybe a trailblazer in a sense too. Like,
Yeah.
to get the work done that he needed to do. So
Well, like, I have nothing but empathy for Christians. Like, I'm not a Christian. I'm not a practicing religious person in any shape or form.
right.
I'm more atheist or agnostic. And I totally have nothing but sympathy for people who are basically heroin addicts on a religious level. And like, they go back to the abuse, and they go back to the abuse, and they're like, but this is the best life that I can live. And like, I just have sympathy for them. because smarter people than me can take the shit out of the Bible and like can take the shit out of the Pope and like they can make fun of all these guys and they go through it daily. Like I'm sometimes envious of like a Christian and their ability to take that much abuse and be like, no, I still believe. Like, I don't care if he's a pedophile. I'm going to give him my children anyway and teach the Lord word in him. Like, that's scary. Scary stuff. But I do envy that sort of like blind faith.
Well, see, I know like some people use it. I think a majority of people use it as their own inspiration. They can't get self-motivated, so that's what they use to, you know, like, or not, shouldn't say even motivated, but just, you know, shit's going wrong, keep the faith, keep going. Yeah, you know,
thoughts and prayers.
But that's also, that's like anything. It's like you listen to Tony Robbins, the same thing. You know, it's somebody there to keep you motivated other than yourself.
Absolutely.
And, you know, a lot of people use the church, though. Everybody else
a lot of it is a safe haven for people, too. If they feel like they're backed up in the corner, they have nowhere else to go, they take faith. And, like, you know, maybe a religion like Catholicism, would, welcome a lot of people. It's like, you know what, I'm feeling like shit, money's going wrong, I'm losing my job. But, they take comfort in,
and we can just blame
because
God.
It's an easy answer.
Yeah, it is for a lot of people.
It's an easy answer. What, you don't like your life? You don't like how your paycheck is so small? It's all God's plan.
All God, man. All God.
So pay to the church.
Yeah, we'll rectify this.
Well, I grew up in a Roman Catholic family, and we did church every Sunday and Sunday school for years until I was an adolescent, and and then I was at the age of reason. I could make my own decisions, and I kind of, I'm not gonna go to church anymore. I've always, it was already done Sunday school, but I'm kind of up there with being, believer in science kind of thing right now. And I've been to church outside of a wedding recently, so and I don't.
The only time I go to church is weddings and funerals.
That's what I do usually these days. So
it's so weird that you feel this like this thing to be like, I am more of a science mind than a religious mind, where this duality of like religion is like, science is not the answer, but science provides so many answers for so many things. Like the idea to infer something or like to have a hypothesis. I'm already drunk.
One beer, folks.
One beer.
That's all it takes for Brian Macquarrie.
Not even one. And have an hypothesis, and like you want to like, and that's what I love about science. Like I think a real good science mind. I always go back to Captain Picard of Star Trek TNG. Excuse me. He is a perfect scientist, and he always explains science as this idea of like have a hypothesis, and then you try to prove it, and then you create a new hypothesis, and that is that's the way the world works. Nothing is fact; it's always changing. And like the thing about science today is that everybody takes everything as fact and stone now, and I think that's really dangerous because we don't know where we came from. We can only infer. And
I came from my mama.
You come from your mama.
That's where I came from.
But like we know that process, and like you talk to half the people, and they're like, "I think we came from Mars," and like, yeah, and we don't know.
We probably never will, to be honest. Like a lot of people say the Big Bang Theory is the one that created life, and it created everything, and this one big world.
But this is the thing, though, because
we'll never maybe know.
Like we can search for answers. So eventually, they're going to be like archaeological digs on Mars. So there might be nothing there. There probably is water, like, because there's ice and shit. But, I mean, like, we can't say that there ever was life on there. We can't say that we were from there. But if we go down there and, like, see, like, evidence that we were, then yeah. But until then, we don't know. You can't just say, I think we come from Mars, or, this, that, the other thing happened. You got to, like, research.
Yeah, you got to research. Like, I'm not a scientist. But, like, have you ever seen something biodegrade until it's dust? Like, give something 7 billion years, And like, I don't know if anything's gonna be left behind after that. Like,
It's true.
I don't know.
Yep.
And the idea of like Adam and Eve and walking out of paradise.
Yeah.
Like,
You
it's a
think-
great metaphor, but like, well, it's not even a great metaphor. It's a shitty metaphor. It's like women came from a guy's rib. Like, fuck you. Women
Eating
came
that-
from a guy's
eating
rib.
that apple that the snake gave them. Come on.
Like, yeah, women ruined paradise for us because she ate the apple. Like, fuck you. Like, you witch hunters. Like, my God. Yeah, like, there's a lot of, again, I just have sympathy. I have sympathy, and I'm drinking, and now I'm like a little bit riled up.
Religion's a hard one to fucking talk about, anyways, because
Yeah.
the point of views are as infinite as the fucking stars. Like and we don't know.
The idea of asking if
don't
there's
know.
a god, why doesn't someone ask, do you believe in fairy-winkle princesses? Because I do too. Like,
I've seen one.
I've seen them, I believe. And that's the thing about like we were talking about earlier in the car ride. I have a friend that did cocaine a couple of nights ago, and they hated it. And they should, because it's cocaine.
fuck.
Bad drug. I will never advertise for cocaine. But like, the universe is a really weird place. Like, they manifest destiny in ways that I can't even comprehend. They did cocaine a couple of nights ago, hated it, regretted it, have moved on. They're at Sobeys getting their groceries, and they're an artist too, and they're like looking for an artist job. And they go to Sobeys, get picked up by this random person who's like, "Can I drive you home?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can totally drive me home because I've got all these groceries."
But why did this random person come up and just randomly ask, "Can I take you?" That's weird. Why do we like? Was there a rhyme and reason to it, or
No. And like,
Interesting.
just like saw her waiting for a cab and was like, "Can I drive you home? Do you need to drive home?"
okay?
And like,
Was it a man that picked
no,
her
it was a woman.
up? Okay.
So it was another woman, which is great. And my friend is a woman,
I'm
so
watching a lot of serial killer shit lately.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like, that's how they do it.
yeah, I know.
Don't talk to strangers.
But this stranger was like, "I need an animator and an illustrator," and my friend is like, "I'm an animator and an illustrator," and like, that is so weird.
yeah.
That, like, I can't explain that. Like, science can't
But
explain
there's nothing
that.
to explain that because
The stars were aligned,
to
maybe.
me, everything is coincidence and like basically the results of whatever action you decide to take. It's dice. You just don't know. So you
So
decide
it's
to
a-
walk home. You decide to take the bus. Decide to get a cab.
Yep.
3 different things could have happened. You could have met somebody on the bus, met somebody on the
Well,
walk. met
in
somebody
my
the cab.
experience,
You just don't know. It's just this is just what happens, and not even that I'm a believer in luck per se, but yeah, like that's like great. Fucking that's a great. It's basically saying good luck is like saying great coincidence.
Yeah.
Great coincidence.
Yeah.
well, my experience
absolutely.
recently, within last year, a couple months, anyways, sort of similar experience with me, where my day job is with a company that does wholesale and for beer packages and wine making kits and shit like that. And this new company that partnered up with us, we're looking for someone to voice some ads, and I happen to be a voice actor, a struggling one trying to get into the industry. And we made this marriage. We have now, she's actually my business partner, and she's also my web developer for my website. And it's all who you know and who you blow. Like you meet these people, and that's my mom. That's what my mom says. That is what my mom says. Who you know and who you blow. So I'm a firm
No,
believer in
with-
meeting the people that will build you up and give
in
you
the
those
entertainment
opportunities.
business for sure, it's and which I include that the voice
Yep.
shit. Like no matter what you're doing it for, still like.
And you're a
technically the entertainment
musician,
business,
and you
but
make
it
the
is
you
all
make the
networking.
you make the
The
networking
fact
that way
You
too.
guys just happen to know each other some way.
Yeah.
The fact that you're on here now, we got more,
Yeah.
people we know.
Yeah.
And I've been
And-
meaning to talk to Brian recently, and it was a twist of fate that he happened to come my way that day. So here we are.
For
Again.
sure. Like, we could have
was a
just
great
ignored each other on the
coincidence.
bus.
Yeah, because I was waiting at the same bus as him in Alderney Gate in Dartmouth, and I was like, we were looking at each other. I was like, is that Brian? Is that Brian? Is that Brian? And he's looking at me. He's like, do I say something? And then like, we went on the bus, and one thing led to another. Be on my
And you
podcast.
start
this week.
talking about handcuffs and
He didn't get into his kink side that day, so
No,
But,
Great
I'm
coincidence.
very vanilla.
more of a butterscotch kind of guy myself. But.
Yeah, no, keep the butter away from my scotch.
Which is funny because I thought you were in Halifax,
Yeah.
living.
I live in Dartmouth.
Okay,
Yeah.
30 seconds from me. I'm not gonna say where because that's privacy. But.
Yeah, please don't.
What's his address there? Postal code? And,
I live
Google
near
Map it.
Sullivan's Pond. If people want to find me, I'm
Yeah,
hanging out
me
there
too.
most
Me
times.
too. You been up there long?
For 2 years now.
Okay.
And before that, I lived in Toronto. I lived in a couple of places in Halifax. Had some bad roommates and stuff like that.
Been there.
been there.
Lived in Toronto and did that for a year. And before that, I was living in the place that I'm in now.
Okay.
I have wonderful roommates that I absolutely love and adore. And like,
Nice. I met them today. Really nice people.
yeah, they're like, they got their heads on their shoulders.
Mhm.
Unlike some of those sloths out there.
Yeah,
Halifax.
no. I've been there. I've been through some. I've had to kick people out due to shit relationships with
No, I've had
roommates. So you know what I'm
terrible,
talking about.
terrible relationships
Yes.
with roommates.
So Brian, you also got another project on the go.
Yeah.
You want to kind of delve into that with us?
We can talk a bit about it. We
Okay.
can't talk
you don't
a
need,
lot about
okay,
it.
just what you can if you're.
I'm going to be doing a radio show with my friend Mark Baczynski. We frequent a cafe called St. Paul Cafe here in Halifax. It's on Argyle Street. It's a great cafe. It's run by a guy named Chris Cookson. And I got here in Halifax. I shot a movie, which was really cool. That was in 2015, I believe.
Okay.
2016 rolled around and I didn't have a lot of work. 2017 rolled around, still didn't have a lot of work. Found this cafe and fell in love with it. Like, totally have a man crush on Chris. He won't listen to this podcast, so I'm safe. And if he does, whoopsie. Yeah.
No new project.
He's such an interesting guy, and like the characters that come into the coffee shop are so unique and so interesting that I had to like capture it on some level. So like when I first met him, I wanted to do an animation, and he was like, "Do an animation of my life, do it, great." And he had all these characters cooked up, and like he wrote one for himself. And so I took some of his ideas and I amalgamated them with my ideas, and like me and Mark meet up and we write out a sketch, or not a sketch, but a script. And we have a couple of episodes now. We've got about 6 episodes that we're ready to record soon.
Cool.
We cast it, which was great. So we've got a great group of people. Bill Wood from Picnicface and
Absolutely,
from
nice.
Mr. D is going to be in it.
Nice.
And making their like acting debut will be Shannon Quinn, who plays one of the characters. Shannon is just an amazing human being who teaches violin and fiddle to people all around the world. Like,
Wow.
just a
Nice.
great person.
Nice.
So like, on friendship alone, that's how we cast this. And like, we had a read through about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And it was amazing. I was just floored at how talented these people are. So
The chemistry was there.
yeah. And it just reminded me of my old days in Picnicface with Bill. Like, we were able to just riff back and forth. And like, Mark even said afterwards, he's like, "You and Bill have got great chemistry." And like, we earned that. We worked at that. Like, there were days when Bill and I would look at each other and go, "We're not going to be funny together." and like you try to make the audience laugh, and somehow Bill has this undying, unrelenting ability to make me laugh. And like, I am not a happy person all the time, but
He's my Bill.
he's your Bill.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I do play a role in it, don't I?
Yeah, and I'm your comic book geek sidekick.
That's
love,
what I am.
absolutely.
I love the MCU, and like, I love Star Trek and Star Wars.
Are you like me? Did you grow up like loving a lot of comic books and cartoons and video games, stuff like that got you kind of melded into it, or?
Yeah. I was very fortunate. My mom never made me do any religious stuff.
Okay.
Except for when we met up with my aunt. My aunt was very into the religion, and so we would have to go Sundays to church.
Been there.
Which I was totally fine with, and that's totally cool.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, I loved cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the X-Men. I loved watching Spider-Man. I grew up on wrestling, so I watched wrestling.
Same.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Like I love that stuff. I like the silly. I like the silly in life. Like people will ask me like, "Why do you watch wrestling?" And I'm like, "Cuz it's silly. It's fun."
It's like it's a man's basically a male version of a soap opera, basically.
I've heard that, and I don't prescribe to that because soap operas are shitty and wrestling is amazing.
It has been. What do you think of the universe now with WWE, how it's gone and what it's doing now?
I stopped watching for a couple of years, and so I missed the CM Punk phase. So when everybody's like, "Bring back CM Punk," I'm like, "Why? I don't care."
Ooh.
But watching it now in comparison to what I watched when I was a kid, I like Roman Reigns. Like,
I heard he is a good wrestler, actually.
and like people like used to knock him hard until he went through chemo, and then they were like, "Whoa, this guy's like us. He's
human.
like us. He's human."
Yep.
And that made him more palatable to like the WWE universe. Do I like it compared to what it was before? Thank you. I just got a second beer. It's different. It's a different beast.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the AEW stuff.
I hear that's coming out soon. It looks actually pretty interesting. Like, do they have a date on that yet? When it's actually going to launch? Or
Yeah, I don't know it.
again, Google it.
You will have to Google it and then say later on. But like, I love watching Chris Jericho. I think like, I absolutely believe that Canada should make a Mount Rushmore of like wrestlers and have
Sure.
Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yep.
Have Chris Jericho. Have Kenny Omega. Like,
Ooh, good call.
yeah,
Edge.
like these guys are like very entertaining.
The Edge.
The Edge.
The Edge.
Not the Edge, not you two, but wrestling.
Yeah,
Edge.
Edge.
You guys from Toronto.
There's actually a shit ton of Canadian, like good Canadian wrestlers.
Absolutely.
Owen Hart, man, he was up there with Brett.
Yeah.
like, and his skills and all that shit. That the whole Hart Foundation.
Yeah.
I used to love wrestling when I was like young, and then I found UFC, and then I was just like, oh, wrestling is like not real.
Yeah.
Now I get it that they are real stunts, like they are fucking like
Well, they put their body through
they're
hell,
tough
man.
as fuck. But like it's just to me it just got silly when the guy's just like standing there like you do in Mortal Kombat, like, finish him, and then the guy gets to fucking jump off the ropes 5 times and then land.
Don't get me wrong, wrestling isn't for
But
everybody.
as a spectacle, it is still a great spectacle, and I appreciate these guys hurting themselves for that entertainment.
For sure. I think that it takes a really crazy human being to want to be a wrestler, and I'm okay with their existence.
I think it's crazy how they choreograph that shit. Like, cause I've listened to some interviews and stuff, but they never really talk about it much. It's just like you guys are kind of like dancing together, trying to figure out who's going to do which move. Like that's and you got to keep it real.
Well,
So
real.
like, okay, so you're gonna like throw me from the ropes this time, and then I'm gonna close your line here, and then I'm gonna give you the big elbow
Well, it's
here. and
very
yada, yada,
intricate.
yada.
It's
no,
very-
that's the
it's-
thing,
it's
it is,
very much-
intricate. It's very choreographed.
I
like,
watched-
but even it's like almost like off the cuff, like ad lib choreographed.
Yeah, like there's matches I've watched where I'm like, I bet this is improvised.
Mhm.
Like,
I heard that about like and I don't. That's the other thing. This is the other thing that bothers me about wrestling though, because of the stories. So you just don't know. So I remember I was watching. It was Mick Foley and the Undertaker had their cage match where, like Mick Foley went through
Yes,
the top.
the
of
Hell in the
thing.
Cell.
They
Great
said
match.
that wasn't supposed to happen.
No,
what?
it wasn't.
Yeah, and so he actually like landed those like 15 feet. And,
Undertaker thought he killed him.
And Undertaker like thought he was like, oh no, he's hurt. So when he was getting down, he was figuring the match was over, like, you know, gonna do the finishing up, and then like Mick Foley gets back up and is like, you know, he's good. And
Yeah.
he's just, and then it kept going. So this is what the story is. But I'm like, okay, is the story real, or are they just trying to sell that?
Well,
Don't
that
ever
much
trust
more.
a fucking wrestler for their stories.
yeah, like
Yeah, I know. So, but like, I think this was like it was something I was watching like a documentary about, again, Mick Foley, like Mankind. It was just like, I don't know for sure, but it'd be so cool if it was true in a way.
well, I think it is because
sucks that he fell 50.
I met Mick Foley.
tell us the story.
I was at Just for Laughs, and my buddy Kyle Dooley, who was in Picnicface, nudges me in the arm and he goes, "There's Mick Foley."
Mhm.
And I went, "Oh, cool." He goes, "Don't you want to go meet him?" I was like, "I don't know if I should bother him." And he's like, "He's at the elevator." Like, that's the perfect time to go and meet him. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it is." Oh, I guess I should. Yeah, I'll go meet him. And I met him, and like, he's tall and he is scary, but also so polite, so nice, so articulate. He's like, "Yeah, if you want to talk to me, just send me an email." And I'm like, "You mean out of your book?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's in the book. My email's in the book, and you can email me anytime." And I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay." So I sent him an email, and he was like, "Brian, one of the best emails I've ever received from anybody. Thank you very much. What do you want?" And I was like, "Can you be in a movie of mine?" And I never got a response, but
I feel like he might have had somebody who does his email for him, maybe.
maybe.
But like, again, you never know.
I don't know. Mick seems
But
like the kind
obviously
of
he
guy
is
that
nice
might
and
do it
polite.
himself.
Like, he fucking he all that shit that he did in the ring, and like, you know, there was real blood. Like his real blood was spilled in that.
Well, his
fucking
hardcore
ring.
matches alone, when he's landing on barbed wire and thumbtacks.
But now he
and-
lives a lifestyle. Now, because of what he did, now his life, he doesn't have to fucking do that shit anymore. It's just like he made his money. Family's
It's
set
funny how
now.
you say he doesn't have to do that shit anymore. When like he shows up and everybody thinks on the WWE, it's like he's gonna fall on something. And like, it's almost like you get to do something. I think it's almost like a religious experience being in the ring and like having a hardcore match.
Yep.
Like it's gotta be because you're bleeding and you're like,
Not many people do that.
Yep.
ooh.
That's why I do something sometimes. Just like, oh, not everybody said they'd.
Well,
do-
there's
they did that.
there's a urban legend, but it's actually kind of true. Maybe it isn't much of an urban legend as much as it is fact. They used to take razor blades out of like their, if they were wearing bandanas or wristbands, and it's called juicing. So if you're hit with a chair, you go down.
Yeah, and you cut, your
your
head.
forehead,
That's,
and
that's
It's
yeah.
been done for.
Now, well, the tax that they would
Oh
like.
yeah, those are real.
It was a real tax. Now, I've gotten stabbed with a tack before, and it is really nothing. But
What?
What about a pile of them on a
I
mat?
stepped on a tack once. I heard a like a
toe?
little deeper, like,
Ooh.
but it was no, it was right in the middle
Oh
of the foot.
God, Jesus.
I did not like. I felt something, but I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel discomfort. I just felt it.
I felt euphoria as the endorphins released from my brain and entered my body.
No, I felt. I honestly really did not feel nothing, and I looked at it, and I was kind of freaked out that I didn't feel anything. But anyways, pulled it out. It didn't bleed.
Yeah.
The foot is a really weird spot.
Yeah.
I used to walk on glass as a busker, and
Jesus.
yeah,
Holy
I
shit.
used to eat fire and walk on glass.
Do you have scars on your feet?
No, I cut myself on my foot once. I'll never forget it because this little American kid was like, "You should be bleeding on your feet," and I looked, and I was like, "I'm fine," and then I stepped, and then I was like, "Ow!"
I'm not fine.
And it hurt a little bit, but like, it didn't hurt immensely like a normal paper cut or like a tack in my hand.
Die Hard would disagree.
Die hard.
Yeah.
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 John McClane, man.
I love John McClane.
Me too.
Yeah.
But
He's-
anyway, so,
I
Oh yeah, me
I was
too.
just gonna say, I think he's one of the most underrated action heroes of our time. But that's,
No, I don't
yes,
think
he
so.
is, dude.
That's
Schwarzenegger.
Everybody loses their mind over him during Christmas.
I know it is. Is it a Christmas movie, Brian?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
Gremlins a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Yes.
Is Nightmare Before Christmas a Christmas movie? It's both. It's Halloween and Christmas. It's in the title.
It's a Thanksgiving movie.
No, it's
But no, yeah. Sorry, I was gonna get back to the attack things. Honestly, I just want to say, yes, it would suck. It's not gonna hurt that bad, and the blood was minimal of what they were getting.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, it's just they are honestly just like flesh wounds. Like you're not fucking cutting an artery with a fucking tack in a wrestling match.
that was great.
But you
No, it's a
shouldn't-
genuine moment right there.
But there was a lot of stunts like that they did, like when Owen Hart passed away, like that,
Yeah.
like those
Yeah.
kinds of stupid things. It's like, no, come on, like it's bad enough you're fucking jumping off a 20-foot ladder into a
There was
fucking
footage of that
breakaway table.
for years, but I guess you can't find
They
it.
got, you know
anywhere.
what? It's funny because I did remember seeing it.
The
when I
cameraman
was, like,
panned quickly to the ground to not capture the whole thing. but-
Yeah, but that was on the internet, and now
Yeah.
you cannot find it anywhere. It's the Hearts and WWE.
I'm glad.
Oh, I don't
Yeah,
want to see
the-
that shit.
No, it's the right
Family
thing to
doesn't
do.
want to see that.
It's the same thing with see, famous people die. It's like, oh, is there footage? People are fucking nuts. It's like, yeah, some of us have watched some fucked up shit sometimes, but
Did you know there's an actual death captured on the Twilight Zone movie from back in the 80s and 90s, I think it was?
What?
So I think it was a Twilight Zone film from the 90s, I believe it was, possibly late 80s. Yeah. Oh, is this the actual, this is the original from, oh, wow. But this is the film, not the TV series. Okay, no, this was from a film. I think it's from Twilight Zone. Holy fuck. That's weird.
Wow. Twilight Zone was actually a pretty big show for us to watch in Picnicface.
Really?
Well, because it was so groundbreaking in
Right.
TV.
That's one of
One of
TV's
the
finest shows.
one of the first episodes deals with the nuclear explosion and
Mhm.
is the first real version of the imagination of the atomic bomb
Mhm.
going off in the U.S. Everybody was afraid of the atomic bomb. Twilight Zone has an episode about the atomic bomb, and it's so good.
Mhm.
No, I actually it was really funny and it was really stupid of me. Because this wasn't originally mine. A friend, just happened to leave it and it's here. If my friend came back for it, they can have it. I don't even know which friend for sure I got it from. I have a good idea, but it's not sure. But anyways, so I was just like, Jordan Peele came out with his Twilight Zone version, and I watched an episode or two, and I was like, you know what? I never actually I've seen a couple episodes, but I never actually really seen any of the Twilight Zone.
The original?
And, yeah. So I went looking for it online, like I always do with everything. And I cannot find the original series, and the new series kept that was it's just that's got so convoluted because that was the new series. Yeah, you can stream that everywhere. You're trying to find the old series. It's like
fucking
well,
luck.
yeah. Now it's like a fucking needle in a haystack. And then this was a couple months ago, and then a week ago I realized, oh, I have that.
This whole time.
Because it wasn't mine, right? It was my friend's, and it was just in my shit of DVDs that I never fucking watch a DVD anymore. But when when the fucking storm happened, and I didn't have internet, I was like, all right, I'll stick on a DVD.
Because you have your laptop.
And then I just, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw that. I'm like, motherfucker. I could have watched I have 156 episodes. I'm like,
I didn't even know there was that many. That's
Yeah.
amazing for a
I'm
show of that era to
3/4
have that
through,
many episodes.
the first season. But I'm gonna watch them all eventually. Yeah,
Cool.
get through them. Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. I'm excited for that.
I'm a huge sci-fi buff. I love sci-fi.
Me too. Word.
I was never a huge one myself.
I am.
Actually, I love comics and superheroes and shit. Star Trek: The Next Generation I could watch, but I wasn't oh, I have to watch it.
See,
Same thing with
Star
X-Files.
Wars is what pretty much started my love affair with
I'm a
with
Star Wars guy.
the
for
original
sure.
trilogy I'm talking about, from the 70s and 80s.
No,
My
yeah,
brother
absolutely.
was born in 76, so when I was born in '82. He was a that is yours, I think. Yeah, Brian has this. And no, that's what started my foray into that realm of media. And I've loved science fiction ever since. I love science fiction movies and video games and television shows, and the list goes on and on and on. And I can sit here all day listing off shit that I like. I like a lot of obscure TVs.
Yeah, no, you
Have
love
you
a
ever
lot of
watched
obscure
Garth
everything.
Marenghi's Dark Place?
No.
Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is your next binge watch thing. There's only 6 episodes.
Okay.
It is absolutely the funniest, most brilliant thing I've ever seen in my life.
Is it new or is it like an older?
It's from 2008, I think.
How do you get it online? Can you? Look
Yeah,
it?
it's on YouTube.
Okay. I'll have to get you to send me that on Facebook later.
Sure, absolutely.
How'd you discover it?
It was in the ether Picnicface. We were just consuming information and like really looked at the BBC as the benchmark of comedy because they
BBC
had
is
The
amazing.
Office, they had Time Trumpet that we loved.
Mhm.
Time Trumpet was a great idea where they would take news and like take a small aspect of the news that week and blow it up into like this big thing into the future, which was really interesting and very captivating for us. And then Garth Marenghi's Dark Place came in. A lot of the guys from the IT crowd are in it.
Okay. So it is a British, obviously, television series.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to check it out.
Just had to check it out, and like it's a very funny show, very smart, very funny. The type of show I wish I made, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I made Picnicface and had 12 episodes, so go fuck yourselves.
Which is also no small feat, mind you, as well, man. Like I said, I thought Picnicface when I first saw it online, I was like, this is some funny shit, dude. Because the skits you did online,
Yeah.
just some of the funniest shit. I think the Bingo Hall one is probably one of my favorites. I like. It was in tears. I'll have to show this to you, and you should have watched this. But
Super Bingo is probably my favorite skit.
I think Super Bingo was my first one, maybe that or the Welcome to Halifax one, which is also solid gold. But yeah, that was my first kind of foray into the realm of Picnicface, and I mean, it's a shame that Picnicface, didn't get as much as popular as it could have been. Like, I mean, it's a great series front to back, and a lot of people need to watch this if they haven't.
I was trying to research it. I found it like everybody everybody loved it, but they just didn't pick it up for another season.
Everybody who watched it sort of loved it. There are people that I imagine sent a lot of angry emails from one of the episodes where I don't parody. I consider it homage to Terry Fox, where I fall down a couple of times and then I rip my pants off and then I rip my shirt off and you see Brian Macquarrie instead of like Hope for Canada or Run for Hope.
Yeah.
It's and then there's the national flag and I've got curly hair and I'm running down a highway. But like I actually got as fat as possible for when I was gonna run. I was like 280 pounds and like got a note from my doctor who was like, you need to like lose weight because you're going to die. And I'm like, perfect, this is the time to run. And like
Jesus.
Yeah, and like I had to like lock my leg up into the form like Terry would have had like with his leg.
Right.
So like my leg was so sore afterwards and like it should be. And like I don't believe in making fun of Terry Fox. I think he's like one of the most fascinating and inspiring Canadians that we will ever have.
Absolutely.
And so
I'll stick a picture up on this.
he's and he's Canadian. He's ours. Like that's what I love about him. And like
Americans have Forrest Gump.
they have Forrest Gump.
Another some comparison there, I guess. Yeah, like.
But the thing that I loved is that our show was very innocent and like our jokes were very innocent, and like the thing that I love about Picnicface is that someone could be living in like, and it was always my dream, I hoped that would happen, that someone would be living in Australia, would be watching this new show that Australians picked up called Picnicface from Canada, and see me doing a Terry Fox impression, running down this highway and go, "That's Terry Fox.
Mhm.
That's Terry Fox. No, wait, that's Brian Macquarrie. Oh my God, that's Brian Macquarrie." And like, that's what I sort of wanted from that moment. And like, I think some people, like, I remember watching that episode in a restaurant here in Halifax. We had this big giant moment set up where we were going to watch the TV show. Some people were like, I'm going to it. Some people were like, I'm not going to it. I wanted to go to it. And I remember one woman saying, in poor taste, when I started running.
Yeah.
And I just had this, like, a moment where I was like, if you don't like the appetizers, you're going to hate the main course. And we weren't for everybody. We were for the kids, and we're for people who like could laugh at themselves.
Yeah, comedy is like, I love comedy. Like, I follow comedians. I want to make skits. Yeah, I want to do all that. But you know, and again, it's almost the world today, just because everybody has access to it. So somebody's going to get offended. But you know, for the most part, you're making a joke for the people who can understand the joke.
You're gonna offend
that's where it
somebody
should be.
sometime somewhere, no matter
That's where
what
that's where it
medium
should
you're
end,
doing it
though.
in. So
That's where it should end. If the joke is not fucking fruit fly, if the joke is not like, you know, again, like absolutely like, yeah, that's inappropriate. But it's like, it's a joke's a joke. It's a joke.
There is this idea in comedy: if people aren't offended, then you're not doing your job.
I agree.
I don't necessarily prescribe to that. But because like a case in point is like Dave Chappelle. Everybody's talking about Dave Chappelle right now.
Yeah.
And like
And exactly that's exactly why.
I think
That's
I think that he raises great points. Like there's
He
a part
does.
of me.
Very smart man. He's the best comedian in the world.
Yeah, he
Today,
is for
yeah.
me too. But for some people out there who are a minority, or feel like a minority, they don't agree with Dave Chappelle. And I think that thank God we live in a world where we can listen and have taste. Like we can like watch a show and not like it, or like it. You can be on board with it or not. You can tell your opinion to Facebook, whatever. But I am glad that we live in a world where we have Dave Chappelle. Like Dave Chappelle is like, for me, one of the smartest comedians and most influential.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, like I've been hearing that he's our generation's, Richard Pryor, for instance, and I agree to that to an extent.
Like to me, Carlin was a huge, like, very smart.
George Carlin's one of my favorite comedians. of
and
all
that's where
time.
I kind of think of Dave Chappelle, because it's just like he is that way. It's basically he calls
He tells it
the
like it is, man.
bullshit. So he catches the bullshit, which is like not everybody does, but he catches all of it, and then he takes that bullshit and then he makes it funny.
Sure. My only qualm with his recent one is him talking about R. Kelly. Like, I don't need to be reminded of R. Kelly. I don't care about R. Kelly. Like, for all I care, I hope he just like dies in a ditch.
Well, it's the same thing with the last one before that he did, OJ.
OJ.
Yeah.
You know, but it is for comedy's sake, relevancy of what's going on right now. His thoughts on that person at this moment in time. It's something that happened in his life. Louis C.K. was making fun of the fact that he had all his shit, like when he did like a thing after his Me Too movement shit. But he's like laughing at, he's making jokes of that himself. So it's,
If you can't laugh at yourself, what can you do, right?
Louis.
he's a different he's kind of a different story because
Louis fucked up
Yeah, big time.
big time.
Big
Yeah.
time.
He did it in front of Sarah Silverman, and Sarah came out and said that her piece about it because she was in the room at one point and he was masturbating in front of Sarah Silverman, and there's a story.
Well, actually, we shouldn't really, because I don't want to. That already happened. That was on Howard Stern. If you want to watch it, go watch.
I heard
Howard
somewhere
Stern.
else.
We're
but-
just paraphrasing. We're not putting
Yeah.
words in anybody's mouth.
I don't want to.
Literally, he had his dick in his hand.
yeah. in
Yeah.
front of
But sorry, now I lost where I was going with that fucking point. I think I lost it beforehand too.
If you're not offending somebody, you're not doing a job right at some point. I guess. But that's what
you're
I'm
right to not believe that though too, Brian. Like everything. There's no formula or no set way that shit needs to be. You do your shit the way you want to do it. If somebody else likes it, somebody else likes it.
This is a perfect
if not.
time to plug my comedy album that
That's
I
right.
just released.
Yeah.
So if somebody likes it.
Yes, Brian. You do have a comedian.
So you just released a comedy
Yeah, I
album.
just released a comedy album. It's audio. It's an audio file.
Is it on?
It's not on any of the internet stuff that you can find. What you have to do is you have to find me on Facebook, Brian Eldon Macquarrie,
That's already so much.
and
work.
that's already so much work. And then
He's
you gotta
on
like,
he's on mine, so you can just look him up there.
and then you gotta private message me and go, I'm interested in your comedy album. I was listening to a podcast.
Which podcast was it, Brian?
This one right here. And I want a copy of your comedy album. And I will say, okay, pay me $15 and I'll send it to you.
I'll be getting a copy from you, Brian,
but if you
too.
quote the Ion podcast, pay me $14.99.
Yeah, no, I'll be getting a copy, Brian, for sure. I'm
Wicked.
sure John will be enticed with that too. With that, with
And we'll get you a copy of this.
sure on YouTube.
Yes.
That being said, with your brand of comedy, what can one expect from your brand of kind of comedy? What you do on like your recordings or even like your live stand up?
I'm a nonsensical sort of human being. Like, I like making fun of us as a collective or myself individually. I don't really like making fun of other people.
Yeah,
So you're a firm
that
believer
makes-
in self-deprecation, like I am. Then,
Yeah. Like,
high five.
Well, it's hard to not to like offend yourself.
True.
look at you, Dan.
If you're offending, if I'm offended by my own,
the mirror, you sit in the mirror and just heckle yourself.
I do.
Don't do that.
5 minutes before I picked you up. No.
Fucking what was I thinking getting a mohawk?
I wouldn't say that my comedy is like quote unquote safe because it's not. I swear.
Right.
But like it's a little bit more cerebral. It's fast paced. I gave my album to a person a little while ago, and they listened to it, and they said it reminds me of Rick and Morty, and I was like, wicked, I'll take that.
Nice.
So that sort of nonsensical, fast paced. Just it's unique. I don't know of anything like it out there. Everybody wants to do like a Netflix special or like it's not like they're knocking on my door. Don't mind.
No, you're not gonna. Netflix will greenlight anything.
This is Netflix right now.
I tell you, no, seriously, you won't. You don't. They don't knock on your door. You knock on their door, and
Is that how it works?
I think
So I've
so.
been doing life
Honestly,
wrong
like
this
if you
whole
look
time.
at what they like, how like honestly, there's comedians there nobody's ever heard of before, and it's just like not Netflix is not just like searching out these like comedians.
Mm-hmm.
I love Maria Bamford.
They're offering it.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of her stuff too. Like recently, I can't remember where it was online.
But
maybe?
they are picking up comedians. Though. This is the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, you might have to ask them, but they're likely to take a look.
Yeah, they might. You never know. My roommate gave me a comedian to look up tonight, and he was like, "Your comedy style reminds me of him," and so I'm like, tonight I've got some homework where I'm gonna look up this comedian and like check him out.
Can we say the name of that comedian?
It's on my phone.
Well, sometimes in our podcast we put a blurb up with a picture. We can put that on later too if you want to give a name.
If we
to-
take a smoke break, then I can check my phone and I can tell everybody afterwards.
All right, we'll be back. The Ion Podcast with Blois and Dan is brought to you by Importance of Noise Productions, an affordable and portable recording solution for your musical projects. They will go to your rehearsal studio, home, or wherever you play. Contact importanceofnoise@gmail.com or visit Facebook at Importance of Noise and quote Ion for 6 hours of recording and editing for only $100. Also brought to you by voicedbydan.com. Get your next ad, intro, or anything you need a professional voice for with voicebyddan.com.
Dan, shut up.
So we just watched a Picnicface, one of the sketches from the original YouTube days on College Humor. I think I can say that without getting sued, can I?
Yeah,
Well,
you're
you can
allowed to say
say
names
anything.
without
Okay.
getting sued.
What is it called? Free speech? Yeah.
Yeah, freedom of speech. It was a super bingo episode, which is I think the first one I ever watched, and John was in tears. First time he's ever seen it.
Yeah, no, that was the first time I see. Actually, okay, so it reminded me of Monty Python in a way. Like obviously
Cool.
those animated.
Yeah.
Like the way that you do with the pictures and shit, which I think is so clever. Like
Yeah, no, I think it's one of the, like, I used to watch them all the time. Like, introduce a bunch of my friends, and we used to get, baked and watch all the time. Like, so what kind of, how did this happen? What gave birth to this kind of style of comedy for you guys when you're doing it?
It really boiled down to like the hard work of 8 individuals who, loved comedy, and like I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for other people in the group, but like it was tough. It was tough because some days we weren't friends. Some days we were like competitors against each other, and then there was other days where
really?
we were friends, and we were like, yeah, like, because we're doing a live show in Ginger's, and you want your sketches to do well, and you want your other friends to do well in sketches, and you want to be in sketches. So like, you want Picnicface to be successful, but then there's days where you're like, when we got to the TV show, like it was basically down to a percentage. Like you had to be in the show a percentage wise, and you had to be in sketches a percentage wise. And so like, there would be sketches that I would watch and I'd be like, I hate this. And
Ones you were in?
if I was in it,
Yeah.
or another person was in it, and I would be like, why are we doing this? And
so a sketch that somebody else would write that you just weren't digging.
yeah, but like, what it boils down to is that I had a hard time accepting that some people's sense of humor was different than mine.
Yep.
And like, I represented a certain demographic of people who liked weird humor, and that was my gem and my bag. I was sort of the wild card in Picnicface, and I kind of got away with stuff, like, because I was a larger man, and I like to yell and like act weird, so I got easy laughs. And excuse me, for some people, like in Picnicface, some were very supportive and like loved the fact that I was doing well. Some were jealous. Some didn't like me. Some wanted to kick me out of Picnicface.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it was very insidious at times. And like, I don't know if everybody in Picnicface would be happy that I like told you that, but like, that's my story to tell. Some people were on the sort of mind, or of the mind, don't even tell Brian that one of the members wanted to kick him out. And, because he's our friend. And I really appreciate that. But then there were some people who were like, Brian needs to know, and I'm telling him. And I'm so happy that they did, because it showed one individual's true colors.
Yep.
And
Were they jealous of the success you were bringing to the table, or did they say that you weren't good enough, or what are they?
their argument was that I wasn't good enough. I had
Ouch.
just won a comedy competition
Yeah.
here in Halifax, so it was like, you can go fuck yourself. I worked my ass off.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
You got
funny.
the proof.
And we like, at the end of the day, we're not friends, and like, that's just an acceptance that like, I can accept. And like, people are like, will Picnicface ever get back together? And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I know these people, and I worked with them for 6 years, and
what did it feel,
Some of them hate my guts.
did it feel like a working relationship from the get go, or was there a friendship there?
For some, yeah, like some of the members like I talk to almost every day on the phone. Now not so much, but like when we first started out, yeah, we were always hanging out. We were just a bunch of university kids that liked Dave Chappelle, that liked the Chappelle Show, that liked unconventional humor, and it's really cool that it got to happen. Like, I don't have bad feelings towards it because it was really captivating. Like, people who loved Picnicface loved Picnicface.
I can vouch for that, being one of the fans too. So
And what I've been watching so far, it's been great. I'm going to be watching more. I like looking for that shit online. Like, like all the, I like those fucking like 3-minute sketches. It's almost like a 3-minute pop song. It's like, but it's like, you're just watching it to laugh, not to whatever, the music's going to do to you. I'm like watching this to laugh. And that's what I love. These like,
that's why I love sketch comedy. Sketch comedy is one of the finest forms of comedy.
Yeah, because you're telling a joke, but you're telling a story of a joke. And, if you do it right, you're awesome.
Yep.
And I love that shit. Yeah.
Well, I hope that you look back on my career and go, that was some good shit.
I will. Or if it's terrible, we'll have you back on, and I'm going to berate you.
Wicked.
If you have any,
wasted so many minutes of my life.
And this will be the final podcast we'll ever do because of, oh shit. Just thinking time wise. What do you? Should we wrap or what do you?
We can wrap. That's totally cool.
Because what are your feelings? Because I don't want to keep anybody that you got a lot of content.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't care.
Is there anything else you wanted to hit on, Brian? Because this is totally can be edited too. Is there anything you want to plug or anything you want to talk about career-wise?
Not really. I mean, I talked to you guys about a lot of stuff. I hope your podcast goes really well.
Thank you.
I hope you get a great following.
Thank you.
Maybe we can do some cross promotional stuff when I got my radio play up and going.
Sure. Absolutely.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Yeah, and like I think what you guys are doing is really cool. Like it's
Thank you.
Really casual, very comfortable.
Thank you.
Yeah, like
yeah.
I try to make it as romantic as possible.
Well, you got the candlelight and everything, man. Like in the low.
Candles just incense to a massive smell of.
If I came here and there was incense and candles and like a bearskin rug,
see it, but there's a salt rug between two guitars, it is so fucking beautiful.
So I was drunk here one night. I came home drunk, and but I was just like wasn't like that tired, but I was drunk. But I was by myself, and I had just got this rug. And so I was like coming home and it's like I'm gonna lay down on this rug. So I lay down on the rug, like right where Dan is sitting, and I'm looking up, and then I have my light on, and I'm looking up that way. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So I took a picture of that actually, and it's on Instagram.
Nice.
But yeah, it was
in this place. John's
just got this rug.
Well, I didn't know. Oh, well, yeah.
Right where Dan was, Sarah's laying. Right where Dan was sitting.
It was a beautiful night.
So sometimes he just doesn't.
I worked all day, and my mind can be mush by the end of the fucking 8-hour. I work a Monday to Friday. Goddamn, and
your mind is.
You're lucky I'm here at all.
Your mind is mush.
Why the fuck? Why don't we do this on a weekend where I can actually get rest?
Because you're always away at fucking weddings.
For my fans that are listening, you should listen to this podcast more because these guys are very entertaining.
Thank you, Brian. No, that means a lot to me, man. Thank you.
For sure.
Brian Macquarrie, thank you for being on the show. Check out the new comedy album. If you want to get it, you got to find you. You got to find him online.
Facebook.
So,
that's all it takes.
So what do you like hand deliver it yourself?
No, we got like an audio file that I email to you, and you'll do an e-money transfer. Or if I can't get that figured out by the time people contact me, You can just give me $15 if you see me on the street.
I live 30 seconds from you, so that's going to be the way we do it. So
I have $10 in my pocket right now.
maybe we can
Right
split
now,
on.
I got cash.
We'll
right
split
now.
on one.
Negotiations.
Wicked. I got $10. It's hot. You want it? Give me your album. Deal.
Oh shit! All right,
All right.
Brian Macquarrie, thank you. Fucking
you.
thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. It's been
No.
an absolute pleasure.
No,
Cheers.
It's been
Cheers.
great.
Thank you. Rap boys.
Yeah.
Cheers.